Welcome back to the Lift, Laugh, Love podcast. I'm Dave Glaser in Denver, Colorado. Jumping on with a solo episode this week, and I want to talk about fear. Fear of being found out, fear of being discovered, fear of being seen, fear of being unloved, fear of being rejected. And as I approach the 4-year anniversary of this brilliant idea I had to record a podcast about authentic dating in Denver, I have the opportunity to reflect back on all of the amazing conversations I've had over the course of that time. Each and every time that I interview an expert on the podcast or a real life dater, I ask them, what do you feel is holding people back most in relationships in modern dating, with text messaging and social media and dating apps as ways that people stay connected and get connected these days? And almost 95%, if not more, of those 300 plus amazing guests, knowledgeable, experienced, real life experiences kind of brought into the picture here. Over 95% of them have said fear is what holds people back in relationships. And I couldn't agree more. As I began the podcast, I had a lot of fear show up for me. Fear of putting myself out there, fear of being seen and heard, fear of being unliked, the fear of not accomplishing the goal of what I set out to do, which was to change modern dating. I reflect back on the time when I began my personal training business, and I had a lot of fear of being seen at that time as well. I chose not to go into a corporate gym setting to kind of cut my teeth and get a lot of experience under my belt in the first few years. I chose to go to the independent trainer route. And that was because I didn't want to be put on a stage in a corporate gym setting. 10 years after I started that business, I took a little break. I was burnt out. I was tired. I was afraid of failure. And so I stepped into the corporate gym setting for the first time in my life, began working at 24 Hour Fitness, and I had overcome that fear of being seen, being on stage, being judged in a public place like that. And that brings us to our conversation about relationships. Let's dig in. This one's going to be tough. This is tough for me to talk about. This is tough for me to bring up because I'm going to admit a lot of my own fears today. I already have fear of being seen, fear of being judged, fear of not achieving the goal, fear of failure. But let's talk about relationships specifically. And let's talk about the fear of being found out, the fear of being discovered. You know, a lot of the times when the conversation turns to rejection, people refer to it as a fear of rejection. And I feel like there's a layer deeper. We can get deeper into our own emotions with this conversation. And behind the fear of rejection is the fear of being found out, the fear of being discovered. Because what we're afraid of in rejection or in getting rejected is those things that we are ashamed of, the things that we're not proud of. When those things are discovered and found out by our partner, we fear that rejection. So that's why I want to take a deeper look into and beyond the fear of rejection and get down to the root of our fear in modern dating. It's the fear of being found out, the fear of being discovered. And I can absolutely attest to this. Before I began my current men's group work, I had a fear of looking at the shadow. I had a fear of looking at that reflection in the mirror and taking a good hard look at that man and saying, do I like this person that I see looking back at me? And the fear was because I would discover something there that I didn't want to see. And the answer would be no, I don't like that person looking back at me. This is beyond self-esteem. This is beyond self-image. This is beyond self-respect. This is our core fears showing up. These are my core fears showing up right here, right now. And I want to lay it all out there because as Brene Brown says, shame cannot escape the light of empathy. And when we shine light on our shame, it cannot survive. It's one of my favorite perspectives from Brene Brown. And I've spoken so much about self-awareness through the Enneagram and the fears of the challenger personality type, the fear of vulnerability, the fear of being manipulated. Well, you know what's behind that is the fear of being discovered. Because the fear of vulnerability is putting out those things that we are ashamed of for other people to see, to risk being rejected. And that is a huge fucking fear for the challenger personality type. And I've spoken so much on the challenger and the Enneagram as a whole. We're not going to spend too much time on that today, but I did want to drop that truth bomb from my experience and what I've learned through gaining self-awareness through a tool like the Enneagram. Another tool that I've absolutely loved using in personal growth is attachment theory. And you've heard me say it before. I relate very closely to the avoidant attachment style. That comes from having to meet my own needs as a child when it comes to self-love and feeling loved and seen and heard as a child. And as I grow into and gain a deeper perspective at my life through the lens of the attachment theory and attachment styles, I discover that fear of being discovered that holds the avoidant attachment style back, it is the fundamental principle of intimacy. Intimacy is into me I see, into you I see, and into we I see. Those are the three dimensions of intimacy. And it takes a lot of courage and a lot of bravery to put yourself out there in a relationship, to be seen, to be discovered, and to be found out. And the avoidant attachment style is incredibly afraid of that. And when I look at my life through the lens of the Enneagram, or the lens of attachment styles and the avoidant attachment style, I can see that so clearly that that's what's held me back in modern relationships. Putting myself out there on social media, the fear of being found out, the fear of being judged, the fear of being rejected and not included, the fear of putting my authentic self into my dating profile on a dating app. The avoidant attachment style shows up so clearly for me through my dating app profile that it's no wonder that the two attachment styles gravitate to each other through apps like Bumble and Hinge and Tinder. Because when we write our dating profiles, oftentimes it's from our subconscious and we don't even understand and realize why we're choosing the words that we do. But when we do, we are seen and we are discovered and we are found out. And that's a lot of fear to take on as the avoidant attachment style. Having a fearful avoidant attachment style is the gift actually in my life, because I can feel the difference between avoidant and an anxiously attached approach to dating. I've felt the anxiety take over me when it comes to modern relationships. Why don't they text back? Creating this cognitive dissonance in my brain that just spirals into anxiety and brings out my anxious attachment style of like, why do I feel them pulling back? And the fear for the anxious attachment style is almost as if like, I'm afraid that my pattern will continue on in my next relationship. I am afraid that I will be found out and discovered to be too much in my next relationship. So the first couple of weeks, the first few months, I'll go all in and I will shower my partner with love and I will shower my partner with affection, and I will be found out as too much. And it will confirm that fear that I've had my entire life, stemming from my childhood, where there was a lot of uncertainty about where the love was going to come from next. And we won't get into the solutions today. If you have follow-up questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me on Instagram to talk about how the anxiously attached person shows up in relationship. I got off track just a little bit, but that fundamental fear, as we look at our lives through the attachment style and attachment theory, it's there, it's clear. And it took self-awareness, and it took a lot of looking at that man in the mirror and really beginning to appreciate and love the attachment styles that show up for me. And there are gifts for each and every attachment style. And I think that that's how I can look at the fearful avoidant attachment style and as a gift in my life, because I do understand how to connect my mind with my body and tune into my body and learn what it is that it's trying to teach me and share with me and show me and guide me. And when I tap into those emotions, I'm able to self-soothe better. I'm able to lean into a relationship better. And for me, that's being a self-led person. That's self-leadership at its core. Is I get to decide what's best for me through self-awareness, through the tools that I've used to gain insight into why these patterns continue to show up for me. And I just want to invite you to ask yourself these questions. What do I fear most in my relationships? What do I fear will happen when I am found out and discovered and seen in my relationships? And what do I fear will happen when I put myself out there, when I choose to lean into intimacy, when I choose to self-soothe and regulate my own nervous system? What do I fear will happen? Do I fear that I will get everything that I've ever wanted in my life, and now I've uncovered another limiting belief or another upper limiting moment in my life? Because my fears hold me back from what it is that I want most in my life, which is an abundance of love and finances and opportunity and relationships in my life. So I'll close it out on that thought today. Thank you so very much for tuning into this empowering conversation about fear of being found out and discovered in relationship. If you're looking for a little bit more support in your life right now, we have a couple of slots left for our women's group coaching program. We meet Monday nights at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So if you're looking for an invitation to join for a free week trial, message me on Instagram at DaveGlaser_CSCS. And let me know what's coming up for you in your modern dating experience and journey right now. And I'll send over that invitation to join us for a free week trial of our group coaching program. I have a couple of one-on-one slots available as well for both men and women who are looking to get more out of their dating experience, more out of their life. And just shoot me a message on Instagram if you're interested in applying for our one-on-one group coaching. This is Dave Glaser in Denver, Colorado, wishing you health and happiness wherever you're at in the world. I'll talk to you next week with a special guest.